This is the CFR training for OMH highlights, supplementals, and changes. OMH providers should continue to use the Mental Health Provider Data Exchange, or MHPD, to submit corrections, openings, and closures of programs. The programs and sites reported on your CFR should match our concerts database. If they do not, it is your responsibility to correct them in MHPD. An attachment A is automatically generated and mailed with each desk review letter. It compares the programs listed in our concerts database versus what you reported on your CFR. Any discrepancies must be resolved. Please note that the total agency administration reported on Schedule DMH2, line 11, for all OMH programs should not exceed the amount allocated to OMH via the ratio value allocation on the CFR 3, line 54. This will be talked about more in the claiming section. New for the 2017-2018 CFR filing period, the CFR IV schedule is required as part of the full, abbreviated, or Article 28 abbreviated CFR submissions of not-for-profit and proprietary providers submitting to OASIS, OMH, and OPWDD. This schedule will be electronically uploaded through the OMH webpage. The CFR IV schedule is used to report agency identifying data and serves as a certification statement by the service provider's Chief Executive Officer, attesting to the validity of the information contained in the document under the penalties prescribed in accordance with Article 175 of New York State Penal Law, false written statements. Note, the CFR IV schedule is not required for SED-only CFR filers, governmental service providers, or many abbreviated CFRs. Executive Order 38, or EO 38, went live July 1, 2014. Providers are directed to visit the EO 38 website for more information. The EO 38 web address is listed on the slide. Providers should note that the methodology used to calculate the agency administration allocation for EO 38 is different than the methodology used to calculate the CFR ratio value. EO 38 methodology must be used to determine EO 38 compliance. Top 10 internal controls to prevent and detect fraud. Detailed information can be found on the OMH website at the link provided. A recent KPMG fraud survey found that organizations are reporting more experiences of fraud than in prior years, and that 3 out of 4 organizations have uncovered fraud. The New York State Office of Mental Health's Bureau of Audit has provided the following list of internal controls to assist you in preventing and detecting fraud at your agency. Use a system of checks and balances to ensure no one person has control over all parts of a financial transaction. Reconcile agency bank accounts every month. Restrict use of agency credit cards and verify all charges made to credit cards or accounts to ensure they were business related. Provide Board of Directors oversight of agency operations and management. Prepare all fiscal policies and procedures in writing and obtain Board of Directors approval. Ensure that agency assets such as vehicles, cell phones, equipment, and other agency resources are used only for official business. protect petty cash funds and other cash funds, protect checks against fraudulent use, protect cash and check collections, avoid or discourage related party transactions. The OMH-1 Units of Service by Program and Site is completed by all OMH service providers that file a full CFR. It is important that you use the correct units of service on this schedule, as they are used to determine cost per unit of service for financial planning. Refer to Appendix F of the CFR Manual for guidance on how to calculate units of service for different program types. Select a program and site from the drop-down boxes, enter your data in the white box, and save each screen before proceeding. This schedule captures total units of service, including Medicaid units of service. The OMH-1 column totals are carried forward to CFR-1, line 13, and DMH-1, line 3. The total program units of service reported on OMH-1 must match the aggregate total units of service reported on DMH-3 for the same program. The OMH-2 captures all Medicaid units of service. Any service provider that files a full CFR and receives Medicaid revenue for OMH services must complete this schedule. Refer to Appendix F for OMH program type, units of service definitions, and OMH program code numbers. This schedule is set up the same way as the OMH-1, except it has been updated to track units of service separately for Medicaid fee-for-service revenues and Medicaid revenues received as part of Medicaid managed care. Each line has an A and a B for this purpose. This is the second half of the OMH-2. This schedule should contain only Medicaid billable units or hours of service for each program and site. The units of service reported here are a subgroup of the units of service reported on the OMH-1. Therefore, the Medicaid units of service reported on the OMH-2 should not be more than the Medicaid units of service that were reported on the OMH-1. You should use the same methodology that was used on the OMH-1, but only count the services that meet Medicaid billing requirements and are provided to Medicaid-eligible individuals. The Medicaid units of service provided should not be confused with Medicaid billing. For some program types, Medicaid is billed for months or half months. You should not count these as Medicaid units of service. If any portion of a service is billed to Medicaid, the visit should be fully counted as a Medicaid unit of service. For Medicaid-Medicare crossovers, if any portion of the visit is billed to Medicaid, the visit should be fully counted as a Medicaid unit of service. If the entire service is billed to Medicare, it should not be counted as a Medicaid visit. The OMH-3 captures the number of persons served by the program and site for the year. There can be two different kinds of programs reported here, one that has an ongoing caseload and one that does not. This is an example of a program that does not have an ongoing caseload. The beginning and end of year totals for the reporting period on lines 1 and 4 will be 0. Indicate the same number of persons served on lines 2 and 3. These numbers will indicate how many new persons were added and how many persons were removed during the reporting period. This is an example of a program that has an ongoing caseload. Indicate the number of persons on the active caseload as of the beginning of the reporting period on line 1. Indicate the number of persons admitted to the program site during the reporting period on line 2. Indicate the number of persons terminated from active program enrollment during the reporting period on line 3. This should include all persons not seen or contacted within 90 days. Determine the active caseload as of the end of the reporting period on line 4 by adding lines 1 and 2 and subtracting line 3. Keep in mind that the number of clients served by the program may be different from the number of admissions because a person can be admitted more than once. The caseload at the start of the current period should equal the caseload at the end of the prior period. We will ask you to explain any discrepancies. The OMH-4 must be completed for each OMH licensed clinic treatment program reported on a full CFR. It captures units of service provided by Payor and associated revenues for particular sources of payment. The purpose of this schedule is to determine eligibility for safety net payment. The OMH-4 must be completed based on date of service rendered and only for services provided during the reporting period. For the purposes of this schedule, a visit is defined as including all procedures provided to a patient on the same day and is referred to as a threshold visit. If there was no reimbursement through insurance or personal ability to pay, the data should be entered on line 11, participant fees, not including copays. This schedule is used only for OMH Clinic Treatment Program 2100. Providers must report units of service and revenue by Payor. The data will be used for rate setting and in determination of the safety net payment. OMH-4, line 15, should reasonably equal OMH-1, line 16. Changes for 2017-2018. All changes in the CFR manual and forms from year to year are detailed in the CFR transmittal letter, which is available online at the link shown. It is important to be mindful of the changes listed in the transmittal letter when completing the CFR. Changes in funding source codes or program codes may require immediate corrections when carrying data forward from a prior version of the CFR software to the current version of the CFR software. The following predefined entries were added as noted. Intensive Outpatient Program Grant, IOP, OMH Clinic Program 2100 only was added to CFR1 line 94, DMH1 line 30, and DMH2 line 29. Safety net payment was added to DMH1 line 30. In section 39 of Appendix F, the program descriptions of the following programs were revised: 2620, Health Home Non-Medicaid Care Management, 2720, Non-Medicaid Care Coordination, and 2740, Health Home Care Management Service Dollars. In Section 47 of Appendix N, the following funding source codes were added: 0960 Adult HCBS General and 096Z Adult HCBS Medicaid. Section 2 of the CFR manual was revised, in which the combination submission matrix has been updated to reflect that an Article 28 hospital that operates only OMH and OASIS programs must complete and submit an Article 28 abbreviated CFR. Section 3 of the CFR Manual was revised to provide clarification on determining a service provider's standard reporting period for OASIS, OMH, and OPWDD providers. Section 8 of the CFR Manual was revised to add a frequently asked question, or FAQ, to provide guidance on reporting to/from transportation expenses for OPWDD programs. Section 11 of the CFR Manual and Schedules CFR-II and CFR-II-A, the Independent Accountant's Report, were revised to comply with guidance issued by the AICPA in SSAE number 18. Section 14 of the CFR Manual was revised as follows. A note has been added on the release of Accounting Standards Update, ASU, number 2016-14, Not-for-Profit Entities, NFP, Topic 958. Early adopters will now report the two classes of net assets on Schedule CFR-2A as follows. Net assets without donor restrictions report in the unrestricted column. Net assets with donor restrictions report in the temporarily restricted column. The amendments in this update are effective for annual financial statements issued for fiscal years beginning after December 15, 2017, and for interim periods within fiscal years beginning after December 15, 2018. Section 14 of the CFR Manual and/or Schedule CFR-2A were revised as follows. References to supplemental information on page 14.10, line 28, have been deleted and replaced with a new section entitled Operating Transactions, where lines 28A and 28B are now used to report operating revenues and operating gains, and operating expenses and operating losses. Line 33, entitled Debt Management, has been added. Lines 33A and 33B require yes/no answers to debt compliance questions. Line 34, entitled Going Concern, has been added. Providers are required to answer yes/no if there was substantial doubt raised in their audited financial statements about their entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Non-monetary contributions was added as a predefined entry line in the addition and subtraction drop-down boxes under the revenue and expense tabs of the reconciliation schedule. Section 18 of the CFR Manual was revised to update the definition of key person, in addition to updating OMH's policy regarding related party transactions. In relation to OMH's policy regarding related party transactions, Schedule CFR-5 was revised as OMH providers are now required to complete Question 2 in Section A and Section D when applicable. Section 19 of the CFR Manual and Schedule CFR-6 were revised. There are new reporting requirements for Section 3, Compensation of the Highest Paid Employees, as follows. Column 1, Name. List all employees reported under Position Title Codes 601, 602, and 603, regardless of their total annualized salary, and all employees that received a total annualized salary and contracted payment amount, column 7, in excess of $125,000. Column 3, amount paid. Any severance pay should be included in this column. Column 8, fringe benefits. Any fringe benefits associated with severance pay reported in column 3. Section 55 of Appendix V of the CFR Manual has been updated to provide updated guidance to the local governmental units, or LGUs, on how to claim recently received payments that were made by OMH on behalf of OASIS, OMH, and OPWDD. Section 57 of Appendix X of the CFR Manual has been updated to reflect that punitive damages are non-allowable costs. Section 60 of Appendix AA was updated to include a reference to SSAE 18, which supersedes SSAE 10 and SSAE 14. Section 62 of Appendix CC, Compliance Review, the agreed-upon procedures report format was revised to comply with guidance issued by the AICPA in SSAE number 18. This concludes the CFR training for OMH highlights, supplementals, and changes.